President Biden delivered his farewell address from the Oval Office tonight after more than a half-century of public service. And by the time he was finished, there wasn't an open eye in the House.
That's a little play on words. You might say there wasn't a dry eye in the House, but I think Joe Biden's suffering from dry eye, isn't he? It looks like a dry eye kind of guy. Somebody get him some drops. Also, did you see he was sitting on, was it one pillow or two pillows? He's sitting on pillows. Reminds me of Jimmy Carter leaving remember when Jimmy Carter was leaving the White House? And they had the Preparation 8 trucks out front because it was very public, that whole Jimmy Carter departure thing. I think he was using pillows, too, like those donut pillows, right? Indeed. Well, good Thursday to you, and welcome back. You can reach us at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625 is the telephone number. Joe Biden's farewell address, National Panhandler Radio, comparing it to Dwight David Eisenhower's farewell address, the military-industrial complex speech. And Joe Biden is warning us about the oligarchs, which are now a danger to our democracy. I've decided that I'm going to have to work on a phrase to encapsulate this, but it is the people who tell you that someone else is a threat to our democracy all the time, who are most likely the threat to our democracy. And Joe Biden, I don't think he can spell democracy at this point, but Joe Biden last night with his speech, 17 minutes-ish, from the Oval Office, the Resolute desk, ensconced on at least one pillow and possibly two pillows, and he gave this speech. It was kind of a terrorism speech, and he's the terrorist. Now, quite remarkable. My best girl and I, we were out on the town. We were out at a barbecue sports place with our friends last night because their daughter was having her 21st birthday, and she's a college student now, having her 21st birthday. So we had to take her out for her first legal drink. And so we were out, and I hit record on the thing. But, we just moved to a new place, and our DVR is not working as intended. So when I came home, it had not recorded. Maybe it just didn't like the speech. Maybe the DVR watched it closely and said, no, I don't think I'm going to record this. That's possible. Remarkable stuff. So Joe Biden's speech, I've got that for you. And there's a lot to say about this. The oligarchs, I've been the threat to our democracy. I've been talking about the oligarchs for years now, here from this studio and beyond, sometimes over the dinner table or over a beer in a sports bar, talking about and I often refer to them as the information oligarchs. And that's who Joe Biden is talking about. Now, everything he said was twisted. It was either an outright lie or his fundamental misunderstanding of the world around him. That's quite possible. Or there's something else to it. And I've got that for you coming up, because the reality is the information oligarchs, the oligarchs to which Joe Biden was referring to last night with great trepidation, the oligarchs have been in Team Democrat forever. They're in Camp Democrat, which is a gulag, by the way, where people break rocks with sledgehammers and then are put to a whimpering death because they're the left after all. But I've got a few things to say about this, because it was those very oligarchs that got Joe Biden elected in 2020 illegitimately, because they crushed information. They steamrolled the truth about COVID, about vaccines, about masks, about social distancing, and very, very importantly, about Hunter Biden's laptop, which showed that Joe Biden was the big guy getting 10% to 10% cut of all the millions that the Biden family enterprise, whatever it is they're selling. Oh, yeah, they're selling influence in Washington. It was, and I get it, the oligarchs. I'm going to get to this because I think this is an amazing story, that the things he said. He also had the mendacity, I'm Big Daddy. He had the mendacity to talk about people paying their taxes and paying their fair share of taxes. Didn't you just pardon your son who's $1.4 million in arrears in his taxes. Can you say in arrears on the radio? I think you can. Maybe it depends on the context. But isn't that amazing? Just remarkable stuff. So that's just scratching the surface on Joe Biden. Also, we had confirmation hearings for our Attorney General Pam Bondi on the Hill yesterday. And the Democrats, really, they're a gang of Soviet-style left-wing radical lunatics. They're a threat to our democracy. Since they, and I got, again, the oligarchs. Who are these oligarchs again? Because they're, Jack Dorsey at Twitter and Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook and Jeff Bezos at Amazon and the Washington Post and who? And Elon Musk, who was he was on Team Democrat until about 3 heartbeats ago. And then they really lost what's left of their crazy, demented minds when Elon Musk bought Twitter from Jack Dorsey, and Jack Dorsey just wanted out. But I'm going to get to that because it's one of the biggest lies ever told. Joe Biden's farewell speech. And honestly, we can't say farewell soon enough. Just get out. Get out. And on Monday, Inauguration Day, when it's going to be quite chilly, it's going to be in the 20s and Fahrenheit and windy. It's going to be quite cold. So apparently sunny, which is better than cloudy, but it's going to be very cold. And Joe Biden, I don't know. You think they're going to have to get him some kind of a battery-operated thing, maybe an electric blanket to wrap him up in, because I don't think he's not up to anything. We all know that. But we've got the inauguration coming up on Monday. Today is Thursday, and who knows what will happen between now and then. But you can be sure that our future, short-term and long-term, action-packed. And Joe Biden is trying to take credit for an alleged ceasefire that hasn't happened against the troglodytes from hell and the civilized state of Israel. And now the troglodytes are sabotaging the whole thing because that's what they do. They booby-trap it. They bomb it. They come in with a suicide vest and they blow up peace deals because they're the troglodytes from hell. Honestly, everybody knows that. And Joe Biden came out to take credit for what he's calling a ceasefire and a peace deal and a hostage exchange. It's an exchange. And the troglodytes, who are the hostage takers, the savages, wait till you hear the details of this because so outrageous. I had to grab a pen and a paper and start writing on my tablet, which is an atlas. And we'll give you 3 hostages, and you give us 1,000 terrorists. We kidnap people, and that would be a big win for them because that's what they wanted in the first place when they first took the hostages and murdered everybody. But I'll get to the troglodytes, too. So the headline from the Associated Press, Biden warns in farewell address that an oligarchy, in quotation marks, of ultra-rich in U.S. threatens future of democracy. See, they were fine with the oligarchy of super-rich as long as they were doing the bidding of the Democrat Party for them. But now not everyone in the oligarchy is doing the bidding of the Democrat Party, at least for a minute. So now it's time to tear them down and threaten them with the power of the government because, as they know, all power comes from the barrel of a gun. Chairman Mao taught them that. That's your Democrat Party. Aren't they amazing? Biden warns U.S. faces oligarchy as Trump looms over legacy. That's out of the United Kingdom there. And he looms over his legacy. No, Joe Biden looms over his own legacy because his legacy is a catastrophe. And then Biden warns of an oligarchy, his final Oval Office address, NPR, and they compare him to Dwight Eisenhower and his military-industrial complex speech because, that speech is a legendary speech and everybody cites it even to this day. And so the Democrats, the media that is, trying to make Joe Biden into Dwight Eisenhower, I'm sorry, the savior of Europe. Honestly, amazing stuff. It's just amazing stuff. So, and I pulled the transcript. I have it for you here. Biden, and this is great, that Biden leaving office with record low approval rating. 61% of us say his presidency was a failure, and that's a CNN poll. So you can only imagine how bad it really is. Just great stuff. And this headline from Fox News, worst farewell speech in presidential history. Biden's Oval Office goodbye panned as dark. I think that'd be fair to say. It'd be, was it dark? Yeah, it was dark. It was. And it was a big lie. It was a fatuous fraud perpetrated against the American people, just like Joe Biden abusing the Justice Department against his political enemies, abusing the FBI against his political enemies, and having the FBI get on the horn with Zuckerberg's people. Remember, Zuckerberg recently said the FBI was cursing out his people and threatening them to make them stop sharing news reporting that was true and correct and accurate and award-winning, although you don't get any awards when you tell the truth in America today in the news media, because the awards go to the bootlicks of the Democrat Party, the golden statuettes and the lucite blocks of the left. It's a great big circle fest and a hot tub. Remarkable stuff. But I got that coming up. And then Israel and Hamas, NBC fake news, always behind or wrong or corrupt. Israel and Hamas reach deal on Gaza ceasefire and hostage release. And wait till you hear the terms of this. Nobody would agree to this. Biden makes clear who deserves credit for ceasefire. And he was asked actually by a reporter yesterday, I was shocked by this, whether Donald Trump deserves any credit, since he said there would be hell to pay if the hostages were not released by Inauguration Day. And Joe Biden bitterly, angrily, did he throw an ashtray at the reporter? Everything but throwing an ashtray at the reporter. Trump and Biden both claim credit for Gaza ceasefire deal, the phony Associated Press. Well, Joe Biden had an awful long time to get a ceasefire deal, and he didn't. Am I right? And then Donald Trump team and their critical role in the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal gets praise. We've got lots of remarkable stuff. And Joe Biden says Melania Trump declined tea invite. Tea invite. This is a retaliatory piece that the White House put out to the left-wing hacks at a newspaper called The Hill, not really a newspaper at all, because, of course, Kamala Harris and Slugger, her husband, Slugger, Doug Emhoff, they have not invited the incoming vice president and the vice president's wife to tour the vice presidential residence, which is custom and tradition, but they don't do that because, whatever it is, they're against it. And also, I mentioned Pam Bondi testifying on Capitol Hill yesterday. She was great. She really was. And wonderful, wonderful. Pam Bondi throws down with Adam Schiff during her hearing. Quote, "You were censured by Congress for comments like this." That's the headline at the left-wing radical Mediaite. Amazing stuff. And also, of course, California is still on fire. And nothing is going very well there at all. Not at all. Also, I brought this in yesterday or day before yesterday, but I don't think I ever got to it. Irony. I like to talk about irony a lot because Democrats don't understand irony. They're incapable of recognizing irony, and they provide us with examples of irony every single day. But the home in Los Angeles, one of the homes that burned down, thousands and thousands, one of the homes that burned down in Los Angeles, California, is the home where songwriters with the Doors, Jim Morrison and the Doors, they wrote, what did they write there, Michael? They wrote, "Light My Fire." "Light My Fire" was, "Come on, baby, light my fire," was written in a home in Los Angeles, California, as you might expect. And that home burned down in the latest fire because the Democrats don't groom their forests, only school children. They don't make sure that water comes out of fire hydrants and that reservoirs are full. They blow up dams and destroy dams because that crying Indian in the pollution commercial wanted to catch a fish. Honestly, these people, Also, the Democrats have made stealing and shoplifting and looting so common that you may have noticed Walgreens and other drugstores and stores have had to put everything behind plexiglass and lock it up because the Democrats have made stealing normal. They're the left. They're evil corporations, and you're a victim of some kind. Walgreens CEO describes drawback of anti-shoplifting strategy. He says, when you lock things down, you don't sell as many of them. And the Democrats like, good, we'll unlock them and we'll start stealing them again. Because that's today's Democrat Party. Man, oh, Manischewitz, 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. That's right, the house in Los Angeles where this song was written burned down in the fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Again, irony. The irony is everywhere. It doesn't just drip, it gushes. Let us go to the telephones. Before I get to Joe Biden's crazy, delusional speech last night and the hearings from yesterday as well. Let's go to Ivan calling from Miramar Beach, Florida. Ivan, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. How you doing, man?
Just great, buddy. What do you say?
Hey, this will be my shortest call ever, Chris. Hey, with Inauguration Day coming, we're about to be unburdened and unbidened by what should never have been. It should never have been, Chris. Trump 48, my friend. Have a great day.
That is great. Ivan, thank you. Yeah, it's now, what is it going to be? Because that's Kamala's line, isn't it? The unburdened and unbidened by what should never have been.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been. It's got to be unburdened by what has been. But it's true, as Ivan says, we're about to be unbidened by what should have never been. But for the information oligarchs that, what did they do, Mike? What did they do to they corrupted the election. They corrupt the public square. They corrupt the information marketplace. They have corrupted the media from Jeff Bezos at the Washington Post to the whole gang at MSDNC and NBC Fake News and CNN and beyond. Quite remarkable. We've got a lot of corruption in this country right now. I talk about it a lot, but we will be unbidened by what should never have been on Monday in the 12 noon hour, provided everything goes as planned.
What can be unburdened by what has been?
What can be unburdened by what has been?
No Boyden, ain't no Boyden left. Ain't that grand? Remarkable stuff. Yeah, we've got a lot for you today because they gave me a ton of stuff. The 21 hours since last week convened, the Democrats have been peddling extra fast. What have they been peddling, Michael? Oh, the usual stuff. Yeah, this Joe Biden hostage deal is a donkey show. 7 Americans being held, but we believe that they murdered 4 of them already. I say, well, we'll give back 3 that we haven't murdered yet, but you don't want to know what we have done to them and done with them because they're savages. And the savages, they've on their list, they want 1,000 and really thousands of prisoners that were put on trial and subjected to a legal system and then put in jail for their crimes, usually murder and terrorism. 1,000 or thousands they want released, including more than 100 that have been convicted on capital crimes. Terrorism, their lifers, at least life in prison for murder and terrorism. So more than 100 of them. And, we'll give you 3 hostages back that, the ones that we didn't murder. And Joe Biden is like, isn't this a great deal? God, I'm doing such a great. And they're not even going to release all the hostages. How many of them have been murdered? There are allegedly 33 hostages still living. And they'll give dead bodies back. And the savages, what we, have really big, precise weapons for. Amazing stuff. It'd be a big victory for Hamas, and Joe Biden thinks he's the hero of the story. Let's wait for President Trump to, and I got to say that the troglodytes are already sabotaging the deal. Say, well, I know we said we'd do this, but we won't. Oh, and that other thing we said, well, we're not going to do that either. But I'll get into that because it's wild stuff. Peace deal, a ceasefire, hostage release. And Hamas is already going back on the agreement, of course, because that's what they do. And then the news media will blame Netanyahu and the Jews who control the weather, according to Democrats. Yeah, supposed to go into place on Sunday, and Monday is Inauguration Day. Interesting. Think Trump had anything to do with it? Joe Biden says no. Amazing stuff. Going to release all the hostages? No, we're not going to release all of them. No, but we'll let 9 go. When you give us 110 prisoners who were put on trial for terrorism and murder, and when you release all 110, then we'll give you 9, and how many of them will be dead? Well, we're not going to talk about that. Dead bodies or living people? What's going on with that? Amazing stuff. And Biden thinks that he's the hero. Amazing stuff. Now, so many extraordinary stories to get to. And one of them is Pam Bondi's confirmation hearing yesterday. The former Florida Attorney General and incoming U.S. Attorney General in the Trump administration. And she was looking wonderful and she did a great job, did an amazing job. Pete Hegseth did an amazing job day before yesterday. And yesterday, Pam Bondi did a remarkable job, a noteworthy job. People are going to be studying these confirmation hearings for years to come in the murder boards that they have before you go before these committees for your confirmation process. You sit down with teams of people who grill you and act like Adam Schiff, and they try to infuriate you and set you off and all that stuff. And these hearings will be studied for years to come, guaranteed. Because, all right, let's go to soundbite number 20, because the Pam Bondi hearing yesterday was a great one, and she did an amazing job. And the Democrats, as they had the day before, they made fools of themselves. Why did they make fools of themselves, Michael? Because they're fools is the correct answer. And the Democrats, voters, and the Democrat machine, They send these people to Washington, members of the House of Representatives and members of the Senate, and that's a terrible, horrible thing. Amazing. So let me go to because Adam Schiff, he was promoted. He's the biggest liar in Washington, and in California that means you go from the House of Representatives to the Senate, so you represent the entire state because. Brain damage is more common than we had originally thought. It's not just Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and so many other Democrats that we're familiar with. It's, 40 million voters in California who keep voting in these people that burn down their houses and then blame somebody else, while smiling at you. And then they say, hey, I'm going to run for president next. Vote for me. And they will because brain damage. So here's Adam Schiff. No longer the biggest liar in the House of Representatives. Now he's the biggest liar in the Senate after his big promotion. Remarkable stuff. And they're talking about the special counsel, Jack Smith, who has resigned, but not before leaving a bomb in the punch bowl. I would have convicted Trump. That's what all prosecutors say when they come out and present their case. I have evidence here that will convict the target of my investigation. And the news media says, see, he would have been convicted. The news media doesn't say, well, what about the defense? Don't we have, alternate facts? Because every time there's a trial in every courtroom, you have the prosecution present their facts, and then the defense presents their alternate facts, and that's our justice system. But the news media is not part of our justice system. They're part of the Democratic Party. So here's Adam Schiff, known to many as the Inchworm, including his wife. That's his nickname. And if you're going to do a cartoon of Adam Schiff, the cartoon of Adam Schiff would be an inchworm. That's That's where that all begins. Adam Schiff at the Pam Bondi hearing yesterday.
You would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
Not a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
And not a summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case. You know,
and
72%,
sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
please, I only have 7
lost
minutes.
faith
Keep
in the
interrupting.
Department of Justice.
Sitting here today,
Don't let her talk, you pig, you inchworm. You, honestly, that's just rude. That's impolite. That's misogyny. That's sexism. That's, Mr. White Man exercising his white privilege, rolling over the woman, just the Attorney General of the state of Florida and incoming Attorney General of the United States. And what's he doing? He's doing downfield defense for the Democrat Party's team members, including Jack Smith, the special counsel. How much money did he spend? $500 billion, whatever. I think more than $100 million investigating, and teams and teams of lawyers. Then he comes up with a phony report that gives the New York Times the headline they wanted, but doesn't actually say anything convincing or compelling or even relevant. Remarkable stuff. Adam Schiff was not, and it's, are you going to prosecute Jack Smith? Why this is the first thing you're doing is jumping out to defend a special counsel? Because, and here's again, no sense of irony. For the last 4 years and beyond, the left has been using the permanent bureaucracy, the deep state, the Justice Department. Remember, you can literally smell the Trump supporters, and we've got the FBI. People got their text messages. We've got all their bias and their corruption. The raid on Mar-a-Lago where they staged the photos and released them to the news media. All these abuses of power, and then didn't do the same thing to Joe Biden with all of his classified documents stored in many, many locations, and they didn't rummage through his wife's underwear drawer either, as they did at Mar-a-Lago with Melania Trump. But we'll leave the explanation for that for another time. But isn't that amazing? The abuses of the Justice Department, the justice system, of special counsels, of the impeachment process, of ginned-up charges, 34 felony convictions. Yeah, and what was it again? It was what was that? Was that we took the money for the non-disclosure agreement out of this account rather than that account, and we declared which account it came from. 34 felonies. Sure. Ask any Democrat what he was found guilty of. They don't know. They'll just break your window because that's what they do. Isn't that amazing? So we got to defend Jack Smith. That's what Schiffless is doing with Pam Bondi. And Pam Bondi, just great, having none of it, and putting the inchworm in his place. Adam Schiffless.
So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth.
Very angry.
That you could speak to the president.
Bitter.
Can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I won't do it. I won't play politics with any ongoing investigation.
So let me ask you another.
Like you did leaking your colleague Devin Nunes's memo.
Like you did leaking your colleague when you were in the House of Representatives, Devin Nunes, the Nunes memo, which you corruptly and illegally leaked to the press. And you're a criminal because your illegal acts and you lied to the American people every day on CNN. I'm in the classified briefings where I get the classified stuff, and I know all about Russian collusion every day for years. And you are the biggest liar in Washington. That's why you're known as the biggest liar in Washington. And as Attorney General, you can't listen to what the president says. I remember Barack Obama's Attorney General, Eric H. Holder Jr., bragging about how Barack Obama is his boy. That's his word. And that he said, I'm his wingman. You're the Attorney General of the United States.
I'm happy. I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. There's still work to be done. I'm still a president's wingman, so I'm there with my boy.
Yeah, with my boy, and I'm his wingman. And Adam Schiff applauded that because Adam Schiff is filthy and corrupt. He's dirty. Just amazing stuff, you guys. And then Adam Schiffless on the January 6th. Now, never mind May into June of 2020 when 180 police were wounded by the left-wing mob outside the White House, storming the White House. Not since 1814 have we seen anything like that at the White House, where they torched the Church of the Presidents, the historic church across from the White House. And none of that. Anybody go to jail for that? They need pardoning? Oh, nobody was sentenced to a day in jail for that. Wow, isn't that amazing? How many rioters were there? Oh, hundreds and hundreds. Did they bring explosive devices? Yes, they did. Was it organized all across the country? Yes, it was. Did they bring in pallets of frozen water bottles to hurl at the place? And M80 explosives, an eighth of a stick of dynamite would blow your hand off, throwing them at the police in Lafayette Park and surrounding environs. And nobody was sentenced to even a day in jail. Nobody got 22 years in prison for any of that. So nobody needs to be pardoned because they were pre-pardoned by the Democrat machine in Washington, D.C. It was Trump's White House. So attacking it and injuring all those police officers and torching the church, that's just, that it was their First Amendment right? They were exercising their First Amendment rights. So Pam Bondi, because Schiff was like, oh, you're not going to pardon. There won't be pardons for anybody. January 6th, that like Enrique Tarrio, who was sentenced to 22 years in prison, he was in a hotel room in Baltimore on January 6th, wasn't even at the Capitol, and the racists threw him in jail for decades. Pam Bondi.
If confirmed, I will look at the files
and
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons, as well
will you
as the
be able to
ongoing
review hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file.
What a stupid question.
So will you advise the president?
Can I answer the question?
Well, my question is,
I would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
Get up and punch him.
You'll be able to review hundreds of cases on the first day?
I'm not going to mislead this body, nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me ask another question.
You were censured by Congress, Senator, for comments just like this that are so reckless.
You were censured by Congress for comments just like this. You are so reckless. You illegally leaked the Devin Nunes memo to sabotage justice. You have undermined justice in America and the law in America. You are anti-truth. You are the enemy of the truth. You are a corrupt senator from California. The fact that you were just elected to the Senate after years as the most corrupt and dishonest member of the House of Representatives, just amazing. Adam Schiffless, it continued.
Are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Yes
Senator,
or no?
That's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical.
We're also
it is
worried about Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
President has
you know what
called
we
for
should
this.
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi, please answer my questions.
The crime rate in California right now
you are
is
aware,
through the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
Your robberies are 87% higher than the national average.
The crime rate in California through the roof. She'll be the chief law enforcement officer in the United States. And your robberies up, what is it, 87%? That can't be very good. And what about Liz Cheney? Now you guys love the Cheney family? You wanted to lynch them and decapitate them and put them in prison forever. Isn't that amazing? Just remarkable stuff, I got to tell you. Adam Schiffless. He got a big promotion in the Democrat Party. He's in the Senate now. And he's a rude and vulgar, misogynist, sexist inchworm. And he wouldn't let Pam Bondi, who's a much better person than he is, superior to him in every way. But we haven't even gotten to Lazy Mazie Hirono. Mazie Hirono was there. How many committees is she on? She was in the Hegseth. She was in the Hegseth hearing 2 days ago, then yesterday in the Pam Bondi hearing. Amazing. I've got more Democrats coming up, and I haven't even gotten to Joe Biden and his big farewell speech yet. He's Dwight Eisenhower now. I saw that national panhandler radios right through.
Let's face it, the investigations are sexy. They're interesting. You bring witnesses before the Klieg lights, people tune in. We got a bunch more from the Pam Bondi, but I can't wait to get to the Joe Biden
farewell speech from the Oval Office last night. It was breathtaking for so many different reasons. His lack of awareness is, well, one of the reasons. All right, let's get to, and the news media, their lack of awareness is, their corruption is quite extraordinary as well. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Bob calling from the great state of Louisiana. Robert, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, great show. Love it. Can't miss radio and appreciate you every day. Hey, I sit here and listen to all this consternation over Trump having undue influence over his attorney general pick, and wonder what was the discussion when RFK was JFK's attorney general pick.
Right.
I mean, was there all this consternation? This is just asinine. It's just truly asinine. And, I am, for one, glad we finally have somebody in there that is, ready to stand up and fight and not back down to these bullies in the Democrat Party. Because I've had enough. And I think a lot of Americans, even some that, clearly from the election, there are people that are changing their minds and starting to wake up and see what's going on. And anyway, it's just, I sit and think, were these discussions had? Do you think you're going to be in the back pocket of your big brother, RFK? Were they saying that back then? I don't think they were.
Well, there were some Republicans that were saying that. The New York Times was not saying that, and the Washington Post not saying that. They were praising it. Oh, isn't it wonderful? Oh, what a family. Aren't they amazing? Aren't they great? And you're talking about a lot of people waking up. You're 100% correct. And it's kind of like the Reagan era when I was one of the people that woke up to the realities of the world and saw the big lie clearly for the first time. But look, Elon Musk was a proud Democrat until not long ago. You mentioned RFK and JFK, and you're right. John F. Kennedy made his brother the Attorney General, and his brother, the Attorney General, used the FBI in all kinds of mysterious ways and the Department of Justice and in ways that are, they're still looked at as very troublesome today. But RFK Jr., who is now in the crosshairs of the Democrat Party as well, RFK Jr. said, my father and my uncle would find today's Democratic Party unrecognizable. And I think he knows whereof he speaks.